The drilling industry faces a critical challenge today when it comes to recruiting the right people for the right roles, just as the industry is beginning to recover. Demand for workers with a higher level of technical skills is increasing, even as an entire generation of veteran employees retires. The modern drilling workforce must train to fill these roles, as well as to develop the next generation of operations and technology. IADC's Gateway program brings together industry and educational institutions to ensure that new employees are prepared for life on a rig, can contribute to their company's safety culture, and will achieve competence quickly. Hi, I'm Mike Killia with IADC and drillingcontractor.org. Thanks for tuning into this webcast, which is generously sponsored by Lone Star College. We have with us an outstanding panel to discuss the current hiring situation and IADC's Gateway program. Pamela Wakefield, Director of Training, Patterson UTI, Linda Head, Associate Vice Chancellor of Workforce Education and Corporate Sponsorship, Lone Star College, and last but not least, Brooke Polk, Director, Program Development and Technology, IADC. Their full bios are available on the webcast page. Panelists, thanks for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today. We appreciate it. Let's just get right into it. To set the stage, what is Gateway? What's its value to the industry, and where did the name Gateway come from?
So one of the challenges, Mike, that our industry continues to face is how do we get the right people? We as an industry are in a crucial point right now where we had a major downturn, and now we're starting to see that ramp up. And Gateway was designed to give us a pool of pre-screened, pre-qualified candidates to flow into our industry at those entry-level positions. In order to do that, we had to change the way that we think about training. So the Gateway program brought together the industry side, who are our technical SMEs, and then we brought together colleges, community colleges and universities. They're not experts per se in the technical aspect, but they know how to train people. That's what they're good at. So when we bring the two together, we're going to get what the industry needs. We're going to get the educational theory, and we're going to get the technical side. And that's exactly why Gateway was developed. It brought industry together with the learning institutions to develop that pathway for people to become trained and pre-qualified to come into our industry. One of the interesting things about Gateway is how its name came about. The industry came together and decided to name it Gateway because it is essentially the gate that's going to allow them to enter into our industry, and it is going to set them up for their career pathway. So it's their starting point, their entry into oil and gas, and then throughout their career they'll be able to go back to institutions such as Linda's at Lone Star and continue to grow and enhance their knowledge and skills and progress in our industry.
Well, just how acute is the need for well-trained people in the drilling industry today?
Well, I think that this is an ongoing concern, whether we're talking about the great crew change or we're talking about people not returning to the industry as a result of a downturn. There's always a gap between the number of available candidates and people that have the right skill set. So without a program like Gateway, we're not able to fill jobs as quickly as we need to. So it's really important that we have people that are trained and skilled so that we can put them into the right position. And Gateway has done a phenomenal job in queuing up people for us to bring into the industry.
Linda, as an educator, what's your perspective on that?
We had been getting calls every day to see if we had candidates. And not just candidates that sit in a theory class, but candidates that know how to go right onto the rig and understand what rig life is like, so that they wouldn't be surprised their first week out there, and also that we're highly technically trained. But most importantly, that there's some credential that guarantees that they have a certain level of competence. In other industries, we've done this for a long time. We've done it in IT with Cisco networking and Microsoft networking. We've had this in welding with the American Welding Association. But we were very excited to work with the IADC and also, more importantly, with the employers to find out exactly what the employers need at a very, very tight level of technical skill sets and human factors, so that we could put together a program that would train folks out of the communities that we serve very quickly. And as Brooke was mentioning, it's a gateway for the student also in their education and training because they start here and then they receive 14 college hours and can keep on going so that they can get more and more competent for the jobs that Patterson has and other companies like
Okay.
hers.
So clearly, drilling is a major focus of the Gateway program. I think that's fair to say. But what other types of positions might Gateway qualify a graduate for?
Well, as you said, drilling is maybe one of the prime focuses, but there are a number of different areas that people can go into. This program could set you up for health, safety, and environment across a number of different businesses. We've had people in truck driving positions, technical services, where you're either building, maintaining, or servicing equipment.
It's been interesting to see the manufacturers. And the manufacturers are picking up these folks because of the high level of technical competence they have and the understanding of what they're making, and sometimes in service and repair. So even those numerous companies that are IADC members that are making things that might not necessarily be used just here in the United States in land drilling here or offshore drilling, but all over the world.
So a lot of broadly honed skills. What are some of the key parts of the curriculum that help achieve that, Brooke?
Before I move on to the key part of the curriculum, I do want to mention, because I'm very proud of this, IADC and I personally have been able to hire somebody out of the Gateway program that works in document control. So that to me is just a perfect example of not everybody that goes through this program is going to go out on a rig.
That's true.
And that's okay, because as all of you know, our industry need other people to make it efficient, to make it run, and to keep our organizations going. And the individual we hired does document control for us and does a very good job. And having that background from the Lone Star and the Gateway program just makes their skills that much more well-rounded.
And I'd just like to add a little bit more to what Brooke is saying too. We're always looking at the drilling position,
Right.
but there's also pressure pumping, fracking, equipment operator. When you look at things like that, there really is a large range of job opportunities for people graduating from the program.
A lot of possibilities for new graduates.
Lots of possibilities, yes.
Great. And Brooke, why don't you tell us a little bit about the curriculum that makes all that possible?
So one of the things that the industry discussed when we were bringing the colleges together is what does an entry-level candidate look like? What does your ideal person look like? Because ultimately that's what we want to design the program. And they said, you know, these industry certificates, these IADC credentials are really important to our industry. And the reason they're important is because it standardizes the set of knowledge, skills, and abilities that they have. And no matter where they are in the world, if they get that IADC credential, they're going to have that standardized level. It's setting the bar at a higher level of baseline knowledge, skills, and abilities. So within the program, they will encounter things like our safety orientation, our rig pass accreditation, so they'll get that credential. It also goes into IADC's well sharp, our well control, and we are going to be adding within the next few months also our new crane and rigger piece. So they're going to come out with their rigging certificate as well. And on top of that, it touches on things that I think are really important to our industry that often we were missing in the past, that really help people to be successful long-term in our industry. And one of the perfect examples, because I grew up in an oil and gas family and I see this all the time, is financial planning. You know, a lot of these young individuals are so bright that you get coming into our industry, but we aren't training them on how to plan and how to focus their finances in the right areas, which will then help them establish a steady career and a steady home life. And the program actually embraces that, and it teaches them how to financially plan. And it has been really successful.
I'm smiling because our lead instructor at Lone Star loves to give the example of his first big truck he bought with his first big new paycheck. And maybe he went a little overboard at first. And so that financial piece is really very important to folks that are going to make a great living when they finish this program and get their first job. We've laid it out. We had the opportunity to take the 360 technical competencies and human factors and package them the best way we know how as educators. So we package them where the first piece is an intro to the oil and gas industry, because the employers also said it feels like the folks that we're getting right now don't understand if they miss a day of work, how it affects the rest of the company and the project and how expensive that is. So we wanted them to understand how important their role is in connection to the whole process of what's happening out there. Secondly, then we bring in the mechanical electrical skills. They are learning a lot more about electricity and mechanical systems and PLCs and things that you wouldn't get from someone you just hired out of high school without this training. Third piece then is drilling. So they spend 80 hours just learning drilling, working with drilling components on a multi-million-dollar training rig so that they can see and feel and troubleshoot what's happening. Then, as Brooke mentioned, the rig pass, the well sharp, but the key really is that safety-mindedness and professionalism behaviors. And all of that is embedded in everything. It's not a safety course at the end or the beginning. It's the instructors have to model it every day. We have safety captains assigned in the classroom. All those things that you would do, muster drills and things, they participate in that. And then the professionalism also. We hear a lot, do you have veterans in your programs? And yes, we do. But everyone's not a veteran. So how do you teach those skills that we like in a veteran and why we hire them? And so we model those behaviors and we require those behaviors in the classroom. They have to wear work shirts. They have to tuck their shirts in. They have to show up on time. They have to stay for the entire class. They don't use their cell phones while they're in class. You know, all those things that sound real simple, but we have to be sure we teach that too.
They make a difference too, because people know what it's going to be like when they're in the work environment. The program is very aligned with realistic job expectations.
And then also, if I understand it right, we have sort of a select group of people who are eligible to take the gateway courses. For instance, you just don't walk in right off the street and sign up for a gateway accredited course. You have a certain amount of pre-screening, right? Drug and alcohol testing, background checks. How does that all work?
Well, I'll just mention, where did this come from? Why this program? Why is it embedded within this program, all of these additional checks? One of the things that the industry said when we were designing this program is, I want you to send me the cream of the crop. I want the best candidates coming through, right? Don't we all? We all
Right.
want the best candidates coming
Absolutely.
through to our industry. So they've designed the program in a way that it does checkpoints and pre-screens for mechanical aptitude, their mathematical skills, their reading levels, and then Lone Star and anybody else that becomes accredited, what we ask is for them to build in ways to help advance those skills. So if an individual comes in and maybe they have a lower level math, do we have remediation in place? Instead of just washing them out, we want to bring them in, but we want to bring them in with the right knowledge. So it was a part of making sure that the people that come through this program are really ready. They can go into a company and be successful, because it's about the company's success, but it's also about that individual that's invested their time into this training, 8 weeks of their life away from their family, taking away time. So it's very important that we're setting up the student to be successful in the program, as well as the company when they hire that student.
And as a community college leader, we have done this in the healthcare professions for years. And you have to have prerequisite skills. It's required by the associations that accredit our healthcare programs and things like firefighters and police officers. We've not done it typically in the skilled trades areas. So this was really the first time that, in my experience, that we've been asked to do it, and we want to do it. As Brooke was mentioning about those that aren't quite ready, if they're truly interested and after the interview they still think that this is the career for them, we're a college, we're a community college. So we offer developmental math classes. We can get them up to speed. If they haven't passed the GED test, we offer pre-GED classes, and we can get them to pass the GED. We can get them in other ways to be ready and pass those prerequisite skills, but they can't go into the program until they do. So, but it also shows their commitment when they finish those other things outside of the program because they want to get in it. It's an exceptional admittance program.
And Pam, what's as an employer, what's your perspective on that? What's the value of that to you, if any?
So just in line with what Brooke and Linda have already said, right, we have our own pre-employment screening that we do, but knowing that when we get a candidate from the Gateway program, they're more than likely going to pass our screening. We know that they've been vetted, their backgrounds have been checked, they have the right math aptitude, they're able to pass any English comprehension tests or things along that way. So it's really saving us a lot of time, and you're saving time, you're saving money, so it's a big benefit to us. We just know that a large percentage of these people will be ready and able to go to work.
Obviously, any kind of schooling has classroom work. What about hands-on training?
The majority of the training for Gateway, I will say it was very important that it was hands-on. You can always flip through PowerPoints, but it's more memorable for a student or an individual, and it's going to be a more meaningful learning when they get their hands on the equipment. And when you send individuals in our line of business on a rig floor, you really don't want that to be the first time they experience that environment. Historically, that's how we trained our people. And you'd see, we'd invest all this money and this time training an individual, you get them on a helicopter, you fly them offshore. Some of them won't even get off the helicopter because it's more than they've expected. So it was really important to make it an environment that's as real as possible, as realistic, and make the learning meaningful. That way they know full well what they're getting into. And again, that's the place for them to decide if the industry is not for them. We don't want them to get to Pam's company and have, Pam invest her time and energy, and then that individual decide this is not the career for me.
And we as a college have invested millions of dollars into this program and others related to it. Because that's what we do. In our workforce programs, 75% of our coursework is hands-on in technical labs. And at the very beginning of our relationship with the IADC and the employers that are associated with it, we decided we needed to build a training center related around oil and gas and the manufacturing connected to it. So we built a 72,000 square foot building, and most of the space are technical labs. We actually built it with no money for the equipment and had to work hard to find grants and donations from employers to fill the labs. But we didn't just take anything. When you reach out to an employer and say, no offense to our wonderful partners, we want your stuff, sometimes they think we're happy with some of the old stuff, and we'd have to say, this is your program. You want employees that are going to walk onto your rigs, and you want them to practice on modern day stuff.
Yeah. No museum pieces. please.
Right. It's not
And we would never
exactly.
send it.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not.
But so and that's what we got. And
Awesome.
it's really exciting. The employers have rallied around and given us all kinds of different donations that I probably can't mention here today, but we've been really excited. And some come from OTC conference. When you're trying to sell your products and things, and they have all this in plexiglass, or we have a 50,000 pound diesel engine, and we have mud pumps and ROVs and top drives, and all this in our labs, so that our students aren't just looking at it like in a museum, but that they're either cutaways or they're movable, and they get to actually use them. The best part is we have bought acreage, and we're encouraging our fellow community colleges around the country to do the same, to build a drilling training center. We have a unique partnership with an employer where our students and our instructors have the opportunity to go on a drilling rig at an employer training site for 2 weeks out of the 8-week program, which is very unique and very perfect for our students. But we are exploring, we're in the middle of our last meeting to make a recommendation to our board about moving forward with our own training center. And in addition to visual simulation. Visual simulation's been around for a long time, and we have not been able to afford it. Many businesses have engaged and invested in visual simulation. But what we've learned is about offshore deep sea. It's very, very difficult to train, to teach for a Gateway graduate on what it's like to be in the rain, in waves, or pulling pipe off a barge, to bring up and place down to go to work. And so we knew we had to find funding for visual simulation. So we're very excited.
good. We'll be
We're finalizing
Looking
that.
to hear more about that. Pam, when you and I were talking earlier, you talked about percentage of learning
Yes.
models for hands-on versus classroom. Can you tell me a little more about that? Tell us a little more about
I want to say that Linda's, the Gateway program actually exceeds what's out there in the general learning and development space, right? So the model says that 70% of the way that adult learners learn best is through hands-on, and your program is actually 75%. And if you think about it, people will remember what it is that they do. And then the model also says that 20% of the learning comes from interactions with others, whether it's formal mentoring or it's peer-to-peer interaction. And then 10% of that learning comes from traditional classroom training, e-learning, and some of those other methodologies. But the thing is that people, we forget, right? So you have to be able to marry the classroom training with the hands-on training in order for it
Sure.
to stick. And Gateway is just an excellent model for exceeding those standards.
We built Gateway, and right now our industry is in a crucial point. We have a lot of new people coming in and a lot of people that are not returning. And when you have a program that's built mostly hands-on, like we said, 75%, you get that safety aspect and the human factors aspect tied into that hands-on. And we talk about, the trend in our industry that we see is when we have a big swing of employees coming in new to our industry, statistically, your incident rates go up. That's what we've seen historically. And as an industry, to maintain our license to operate, we cannot afford to do that.
that. Absolutely.
This program helps to shape that. How do you change that trend? You embed safety and human factors into every aspect of the technical and hands-on training. So you're rebuilding a safety culture through an individual that has yet to come into our industry. And then those individuals will have the knowledge, skills, and abilities and the behavioral side to advance within their company. So you're moving from just changing safety culture of one company to expanding to change safety culture within our whole industry. So it's huge. It ties everything together perfectly.
Great.
It's a great
Well,
point.
Lone Star is Gateway accredited. We're very pleased with that. They went through the process to be approved and accredited, submitted an application, right, went before the review panel. So what kind of criteria does the review panel look for, our IADC body who approves these accreditations, Brooke?
So the process, we bring on SMEs. So we want the industry people to review this because ultimately it's their
Subject matter
employees that are
experts, right?
coming out.
Yeah.
That's right. So we want the experts. And so what we have is when a company submits an application, it goes through an initial screening just to make sure that you meet all of the curriculum requirements. In the application, it lays out all of the knowledge and skills that the learners need to be taught in that class. And then the outcomes, it also shows them what can be a knowledge assessment and what we require to be an actual hands-on skill assessment. It's very important that we assess hands-on skills. And then we go through the review process of pushing it to our technical review panel. And they will come together as a group of SMEs and look through every detail of that program. They will look at the training manuals, they will look at the PowerPoint slides, and they'll look at how you do every aspect of your program. And they're going to make sure it not only complies to our standards, but it meets the industry's expectations. So as our industry changes, it's important that our SMEs communicate that to us because we need to keep our program current. Once they pass the internal IADC technical review as well as the review panel of SMEs, then we require they pass an on-site audit first. So we will send out a subject matter expert to do a full audit and look at everything from the technical teaching aspect to the quality assurance piece. And Linda can speak a little bit more on the audit side since she's experienced it firsthand, and I think give a little bit of a glimpse into if you're going to apply, what it will be like to have an IADC auditor come to your facility.
You have to have all your ducks in a row, and there's no fudging any of it. You have to be serious and committed. And we had at first blush, 359 of the 360 competencies in our curriculum, and had to crosswalk it very tightly to be sure before they got there, before they looked at the first phase, that we had all 360. And not just that they're listed, but how do you assess it or model it, demonstrate it, and those that are required hands-on. It's very, very specific. And then our instructors. We can have the best curriculum in the world, but if we don't have the best instructors in the world, then it's not going to be a wonderful program, and it's not going to pass the accreditation process. So we have instructors that are the real deal, that come out of the industry. Not a college professor, not someone that was out there for a couple years, someone that has 20 years experience, and those are the people that we train for this program on how to be a trainer, not take an instructor that knows how to train and teach them about this program, because that just wouldn't work and we couldn't even fake it.
Right.
And then there's the facilities and the labs. Because it's required that most of this program is in a lab, they also come and look at our equipment. Is it working equipment? Do the students actually get to practice and troubleshoot? Or is it a museum? And are they just sitting there and it's show and tell? They walk through every lab. They interviewed the instructors. They looked at their credentials. They made sure that we had validation of their credentials. They made it fun. It wasn't that it was all stern and they weren't mean about it, but it's serious.
Very
We're
thorough.
talking about a serious industry and the safety of the people on that rig, and make sure that these are qualified applicants, and that we are doing everything that they require us to do. But the most important thing is, as Brooke has said a couple of times, we're not doing this for us to say we graduated 300, 400 students and they completed our program. We're doing this for our employers. Our employers keep saying we need qualified people, and they have a business to run. So yes, many of them have excellent training departments and training and talent development leaders, but there's so much training that's required now of these companies that they have to do. And then there are their own processes that they have to train their employees on, that they're looking to us to train entry-level core skills at their level.
So if I could just add to that, right, as Linda says, we do have many organizations like ours have great training department, but it's the difference between taking somebody off the street that has absolutely no experience in this industry, no kind of oil and gas training, and getting somebody that has spent 6 to 8 weeks in a very detailed, well-vetted program. You've heard from both Linda and Brooke what they've gone through in terms of accrediting the program, vetting instructors, the kind of detail that's in this program. So when you take a look at that, yes, we are definitely still training people, because you have to teach them more about the industry and more about your corporate values and policies and procedures, but it gets us that much more ahead of the game when you bring in somebody that already has that industry knowledge and training.
Absolutely. A lot of high bars, it sounds like, in the accreditation process that
Yes.
should produce really highly qualified people for our industry. And so then it's a great opportunity, Pam, to ask you what kind of success you've had with graduates of the Gateway Program.
Well, if you can just, let's just go back to what has been already said, right? You have people that have committed to this time and investment, whether it's coming out of their pocket or it's through a grant. This is someone that says, I'm serious about getting into this industry. They understand the work. Safety is a very important component of it because it's stressed throughout the program. So you have an individual that is ready and qualified to work. So we've seen a lot of success as a result of it. So when they come in, they catch on a bit quicker in what it is that we're doing. We see that there is a certain level of dedication, and we see the hard work. So many of these people are quickly progressing within the company. A lot of them have been promoted, and even during the downturn, we did retain a lot of them because there's a lot of investment. There's investments that they have done on their own through this program, and we've invested in them additionally for training. So That's why I'm here today,
Yeah.
is because I believe in the
appreciate it.
program and
Yep.
I want it to continue so that we can source more of our employees from it.
And along those lines, what else could we be doing to accelerate training of new employees?
Well, I'm going to say that, while 6 to 8 weeks is wonderful and we need them to have that level of detail, we're always going to want more and we're going to want it faster. So I think if we can take a look at some ways where we can get more people through the program and also accelerate the learning, that would be right up the alley of what I'm looking for.
And we are, and I'm hoping the next steps with the IADC is to add additional occupational areas, which was the original conversation that we had with the KSA project. So we're hoping to add more of that. And also frontline supervision. As these folks are moving up in companies and moving up in their responsibilities, the supervisory piece isn't just traditional leadership that has been trained since I started a long time ago working. But it's very specific to this area and this industry. So it also has technical skills and behavioral skills combined, where a traditional leadership program had no technical skills in it, at least those that maybe we grew up with, right?
Right.
So we're real excited to continue the partnership and working with you, Pamela, and working with the IADC on next steps.
And one of the main goal in our accreditation program is we always want to give the industry relevant accreditations. It's no sense in having an accredited program if it's not going to be relevant to the industry's needs. So what we're doing is we're already looking at ways to enhance the Gateway program. We're looking at upping the level of well control, so moving from the awareness level well sharp to the introductory level. Lone Star already has the introductory level and it's working out so well. That's one of the changes we're looking to make. Adding the basic rigging IADC certification. So it's just creating a more qualified candidate for companies when they hire these people in. Not only that, and investing in the Gateway program as is, but then what's the next step? So we look at companies such as PAMS through our Workforce Development Committee, and we ask the industry, tell us what you need. Who do you need next? What is your pinch point? Especially right now with so many people exiting, where is the pinch point? And we need to focus and move forward, creating that career development ladder for our people.
Do you mind if I add one more comment to that?
Of course not, Linda. Please do. It's always valuable.
You asked a question earlier about how acute is the need. For the past year, it hasn't been as acute. But in the last 2 weeks, just our college has had multiple phone calls and emails from people we have met over the last 2 years at the IADC conferences, and even just as today, received a call from another state. We had folks drive down for a one-day meeting from Oklahoma last Wednesday. The need is here. It's today, it's now. And this is an 8-week program. We really need, as Pamela just mentioned, more people in this program and more colleges involved and accredited, because they need people. And yesterday wasn't fast enough.
Okay. Well, thank you that's a great way to sum everything up. And thank you, panel, for your great comments and participation. I really enjoyed the discussion. And that's about all we have time for today. I want to thank the panelists, Pam Wakefield, Linda Head, Brooke Polk. Thank you all for coming out. And thanks to Lone Star College for their generous sponsorship of this webcast. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you have any questions about the Gateway program, about training, or in general, just submit them on the website there. We will review them, post some responses, and email you back when they're ready. Also, this webcast is going to stay on drillingcontractor.org for several months. So please tell your colleagues and friends to check it out. Remember, first and foremost, stay safe, keep turning to the right. I'm Mike Killia with IADC and drillingcontractor.org. See you next time.